Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. I'm Jade, and normally I do music reactions, predominantly Finnish and Swedish power metal and metal bands. But today I've got something a bit different. A subscriber from northern Sweden has shared a video with me about northern Sweden's winter and how much snow there is, because we've had many conversation on my page in the comments about how hot the Australian summer is, and then everybody from Sweden says how cold it is over there. So, as an Australian who has probably only seen snow 3 times in my life, and not very much snow at that, I'm quite excited to check this out with you guys. So let's check it out together. Okay, so this is Living with the Dark Winters in Sweden, Midnight Sun and Polar Night by Jonna Jinton. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly.
My name is Jonna, and I live in the north of Sweden. Sweden is a country with a lot of light. And it's also a country with a lot of darkness. It all depends on what season it is. Just like many other countries in the Northern Hemisphere, there is a strong contrast in the light conditions between summer and winter. In the winter, it's dark almost all the time. And in the summer, it's light all the time. During the summer, in the very north of Sweden, the sun never sets between the end of May until the middle of July. So you can see the sun 24 hours a day.
The longest sunlight we have here is like in summer we have in December, coming up to the solstice, we have the longest day, and some days in summer can, like the middle of summer, can be daylight until 10 o'clock at night, but not all day and all night.
And that is called the midnight sun. And then, during the winter in the very north of Sweden, it's the opposite. For a couple of weeks, the sun never rises above the horizon, which means that there is no sunlight for about a month. And that is called the polar night. These extreme contrasts in light is caused by the rotation of the Earth in relation to the position of the sun. And the further north you go, the bigger the contrast. I live in the middle north of Sweden, and if I'm lucky and it's a clear sky, I can see the sun above the treetops for about an hour during the darkest time of the year. It's the middle of the day, and this is how high the sun goes up now. It's just a little bit over the horizon, or over the trees. But winters like this one, when it's been cloudy every day, I actually didn't see a glimpse of the sun for over a month. But just a few days ago, now in the beginning of January, I got to feel the sun on my face again. This is the first glimpse of the sun that we see in over a month. Do you see this?
The amount of snow I've seen is probably only about this thick, and I think it was man-made when I went to the ski slopes.
And that feeling when you begin to feel the sunlight again in January is always overwhelming. It's like seeing the sun for the first time in your life. Even if it can be hard sometimes with these kinds of light conditions, I really love it and I would never want to change it. I think the light is never as beautiful as it is during these most extreme times of the year. When it's summer, I usually change my rhythm and stay up all nights and then sleep in the forenoon instead. The light is so beautiful in the middle of the night, and as a filmmaker and photographer, it's like a dream to be out and capture the beauty of the bright nights of June.
As a photographer, you would get so many good shots living there. The amount of light that you can get, and even the darkness, you could just mix it up during the opposite seasons, and the scenery is so beautiful.
And then in the winter, even if we don't get so much sunlight, we at least get a few hours of twilight during the day. And that light is the most beautiful kind of daylight that I know. It's like experiencing a long sunrise without a sun. And when it's a clear sky and the sun is rising just a tiny bit above the treetops, it spreads a soft and pink light all over the landscape. And that is beyond beautiful. Around 3 in the day, it's already getting dark, and it makes the evenings feel never-ending. But the darkness makes us see what is never visible in the light. Because actually, we do get sunlight from thousands of suns far, far away. I live in a place where there is no light pollution, and the night sky is breathtaking. And for me, that is one of the reasons that I really love the winter here.
You can get similar, well, I don't know if it's that many stars, but rural New South Wales, where my mum's family is from, there's zero light pollution out there because it's all farms. And I used to love sitting out in the paddock and looking at the stars at night and just feeling so insignificant in comparison to the rest of the universe.
And now and then, the sun sends us a greeting in the darkness. Particles from storms on the surface of the sun comes traveling towards the earth, colliding with our magnetic field and creating the aurora borealis, the northern lights that dances in the sky.
We have a similar thing to the northern lights in the southern hemisphere called the southern lights, but unfortunately they're not visible from Western Australia. It's Tasmania, New South Wales, I believe, and New Zealand. Apparently, our aurora australis is the same as the one that's the same as the aurora borealis. However, there's not enough land mass for people to be able to see it. It's very limited of who can see it in comparison.
I can never find the right words to describe how much I love to stand under the northern lights on a cold and dark winter night. I can take the darkness any day, as long as I get to see the stars and the northern lights. It makes it all worth it. But even though there is so much beauty to find in these special kinds of light conditions that we have here in the north, I would lie if I said that it's always easy to live and adapt to them, because it's not. Well, the summer is easy. I don't think you can have too much light. The only thing that people often ask me is if it's harder to sleep when it's light all night. And for me personally, if I want to sleep during the night, I have no problem with that. And for those who do feel like it's a problem, it's easily fixed with some thick and dark curtains. But the winter and the darkness is definitely much more challenging, and I can only speak from my own experience now. The lack of sunlight makes me more tired, and during the darkest and
We complain about having to take our garbage bins out. She has to drag it through snow.
Coldest months, between November and March, I sometimes struggle to keep the energy up. It's harder to get up in the morning when it's dark outside. Our body naturally want to wake up with the sun. And in the afternoon, I often get confused with the time, since the darkness makes it feel like it's much later than it actually is. And the lack of daylight makes me struggle more as a filmmaker, since I only have 1 hour of good light to film in a day, compared to the 24-hour of good light in the summer. So the darkness, combined with the cold, make things a bit more challenging, and I know I'm not the only one struggling to keep up the energy during this time of the year.
I've never understood ice baths, but from what my understanding of it is that water is actually warmer than the outside temperature. I don't know whether I'd ever be game enough to do it though.
But of course, there's many things you can do to make the winters a little easier. I want to mention a few things that helps me adapt better to the lack of sunlight. For me personally, I think that the tiredness that I feel in the winter is the hardest part. The energy level is so low sometimes. And the cure to that is not always to sleep more. It can actually be to do the opposite. So I try my best to keep being active and moving my body as much as I can, and get as much daylight as possible. I go for long walks with my dog every day. And if the weather is good, I like to go out in the forest with my snowshoes and my camera, or go skiing. I also love to take ice baths. It's something I started doing a few years ago, combined with breathing exercises, using the Wim Hof method, and it has become my favorite way of boosting myself with new energy when I need it the most. Going into that freezing water is actually the last thing that my body wants to do in that moment. But putting myself into that kind of discomfort is awakening something in me that helps me reset my body. Believe it or not, but cold swims and cold showers has many good health benefits. It's not for everyone, of course, and it's important to get knowledge before trying an ice bath if you have never done it before. But for me, it has been a great source of energy and joy during the winter time. So, I really feel a big difference in my energy levels in the winter when I move my body in some way. It doesn't need to be a full workout, but just something, a little every day, that makes you feel alive. When we can't get enough energy from the sun, I think it's even more important to make sure that we get enough energy and nutrition from our food. Nature has so much to give us in the summer that we can harvest and save for the winter when we need it the most. Here in the north we have plenty of berries in the forest, so I like to pick tons of blueberries and lingonberries and put in the freezer so that we can eat berries and drink juice from berries every single day during the whole winter.
In Australia we've got lots of forests, but you can't just go out there and pick berries and all that sort of stuff. It's usually all government owned property. And yeah, you can't even have a vegetable patch in your backyard in most places because they just don't allow them anymore. Silly.
I also like to pick different herbs that are good for our health and dry them to make my own tea for the winter. One of my favorite teas to drink when it's cold and dark outside is simply made out of birch leaves. I pick them just as they begin to bloom in the spring, while they are still small and light green. And the tea smells and tastes just like how it smells like in the spring. And in the middle of the winter, I think it feels so comforting to have a piece of the spring to remind you of the wonderful time to come when everything is blooming and the birds are singing again. And of course, I also take vitamin D supplements since we don't get anything from the sun in many months. Even though that would never replace the sun, I believe it can help a little bit. The list of things you can do to handle the darkness is endless. These were just to mention a few. But I think that the most important thing of all is to accept and adapt to the cycles of nature. I definitely feel a big difference in the energy during summer and winter, both in nature and in myself. And that doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, it's just different. I think the winter and the darkness can cause a lot of unnecessary suffering when we are trying to force ourselves to feel the same as we do in the summer. It's okay to feel tired. It's okay to feel lack of inspiration. And it's okay to need more sleep and to let things slow down. A flower would never force itself to bloom in the cold winter. So why would we? This way of thinking changed my way of dealing with the different seasons. I love the winters just as much as I love the summers. They both have their own benefits and challenges. And I think it gets much easier when we let go and accept what we feel instead of fighting it, and accept the cycles in nature and the cycles in ourselves and learn to live with it, like a dance. So, this is how it is to live with the light and the darkness in the north of Sweden, from my perspective. The extreme contrasts in light also creates a bigger contrast to the seasons, and they all have their own beauty. I love the constantly changing seasons, and that you can see and feel how the light changes a little bit for every single day that goes by. The beautiful balance of light and darkness is my greatest source of inspiration, and it makes every day feel new and different.
Well, that was an amazing video to watch, and Sweden is absolutely beautiful all year round. The scenery is absolutely amazing. It would be so harsh and rugged living where the snow is that deep. But then again, we live in temperatures that most people wouldn't want to live in here in Australia. So I suppose it's just where you grew up and what you're used to. But yeah, I'm very thankful to be shown that video so that I can watch it. And yeah, you're very lucky to be living in Sweden and in such a picturesque landscape. It's absolutely gorgeous. But if I showed you places in Australia, you'd probably say that's absolutely gorgeous. So it's just what you're used to again. Anyway, if you like that reaction, please give me a like, a subscribe, and click the notification bell so that you know when I have another video. And if you want to see me do more reactions like this, where I'm looking at places where people are suggesting, by all means, leave them in the comments and I will check them out. So until next time, I will catch you all later. Bye.